After a month of silence, John finally showed up, not with an apology or even a basic "how have you been?" Instead, he tossed a divorce lawyer's business card into my lap. "Let's call it what it is," he said with a smug little laugh. "No job, no kids, pay $1,000 a month in alimony and we're done. Easy, right?" Beside him, Emily clung to his arm like it was some prize she'd won. Her grin matched his arrogance perfectly. "Fine," I said with a cool calm that caught him off guard. "Let's get divorced." He blinked for a second, then shrugged and turned to Emily, sharing a satisfied smile. "It figures. John's never been one for deep thinking. That would work in my favor." The divorce was finalized swiftly, and with it, my plan began. I would make them regret every moment of betrayal. My recovery would be marked with their downfall. My name is Sarah Wolf. I'm 47, an illustrator and a children's author. Drawing is my passion, my escape. I had two childhood friends I trusted completely, John and Emily. John, who became my husband. Emily, the friend I grew up protecting. It all began when John surprised me with a confession right before I left for college. I thought he liked Emily, everyone did, but I had feelings for him too. After talking it over with Emily, I agreed to date him. We eventually married at 25. Emily had always been a bit complicated, charming, yes, but also reckless, especially with men. She had a habit of taking what she wanted, discarding boyfriends after making them fall hard. John and I had often watched over her, trying to keep her from self-destruction. For years into our marriage, Emily introduced us to George, her fiancé. He was professional, respectful, and easy to get along with. We began spending holidays and vacations together. It felt natural, until everything unraveled. Emily got pregnant 2 years into her marriage, and things shifted. John and I had decided not to have children. We loved kids, but not enough to give up our freedom. So when Emily shared her news, I expected joy, just not obsession. John quit smoking. He started using his vacation days to drive her to appointments. "She's our friend," he'd argue when I voiced concern. But it went too far. "You're always with her," I told him. "That's not your baby." He snapped. "You won't have one anyway. What's the big deal?" That comment shattered something. Fights became frequent, especially after Emma was born. John was always with them, always with her. Still, I never imagined how far things had gone until the day before Emma's graduation. He was rummaging through suits. "What's going on?" I asked. "I have a meeting," he replied, then a pause. "Actually, I'm going to Emma's graduation." I was stunned. "What? That's outrageous. You're not her father." "George can't make it," Emily asked me. I called Emily. She confirmed it casually, too casually. "Don't worry, George doesn't know. I'll tell him later." That's when I realized the truth. George wasn't informed about any of Emma's milestones. John had been filling the role of father, publicly. I trembled with anger, but I still ironed his shirt that night. Habit, or maybe the calm before the storm. Their meetings became more frequent, weekly turned to 3 times a week, until finally, George showed up at my door one night. "There's something I need to show you," he said. He presented GPS records from Emily's car, hotel stays matching every outing with John. The dots connected themselves. "What do you want to do?" I asked. His eyes were steel. "I want to ruin them." I nodded. "Same here." And so, our quiet revenge began. First step, increasing my income, because the best revenge is calculated, funded, and cold. I had been scraping by, saving where I could, doing housework, helping with Emma, anything to make ends meet. My income had taken a serious hit. Meanwhile, George transitioned to remote work, and whenever John and Emily disappeared together, he'd bring Emma over. We took care of her together like co-parents in exile. Neither John nor Emily suspected we were onto them. That naivety worked in our favor as we quietly gathered evidence. And once we had enough to take them down, something happened that shook us both, something about Emma. What we discovered changed everything. Emma wasn't just caught in the middle, she was innocent, and if our plan hurt her, we'd be no better than them. After long talks, George and I agreed we'd wait until Emma was grown. Our revenge could wait. But life didn't wait. Not long after, I was diagnosed with a serious illness. Long-term hospitalization was inevitable. even with the option to work from the hospital. I knew my output would suffer. I broke the news to George first. Then, reluctantly, I told John. His response? I'll visit sometimes. That was it. No concern, no questions, not even curiosity about the diagnosis. And unsurprisingly, he kept his word, barely. He showed up once a month, sometimes less. After Emma turned 15, she began acting distant. She'd once visited me almost daily after I was admitted, but now she barely came. George and I tried asking, but she brushed us off with a cold, "Don't worry about it." We didn't push. Then, on one of John's rare visits, we found out why. "Yo, long time," he said, barging in uninvited, now dressed like a midlife crisis in motion. Without a hello or a how are you, he tossed a business card on the table. "Divorce lawyer. You'll get 1,000 a month. Deal with it." Emily, clinging to his arm, wore the same smug grin she always did when she thought she'd won. "Fine, let's divorce," I said, so calm it wiped the smirk off John's face just for a second. Then they shared a self-satisfied look, as if they'd pulled off some kind of masterstroke. But John was never the sharpest, which was why my plan worked so well. Once I received official confirmation that our divorce had been finalized, I set my counterattack in motion. First step, transfer hospitals and leave everything behind. I contacted George. He moved with Emma to an apartment near my new hospital. I arranged for a lawyer to handle all future communication. Emma still looked withdrawn, but she came to see me regularly. That was enough. Everything I owned was already in my hospital room. I told John to get rid of whatever was left. I didn't want any reminders of that life. Then, one day, my phone lit up with 30 missed calls. I picked up, already exhausted. "What the hell is happening?" John's voice rang out. Panicked, I could hear a real estate agent in the background, along with Emily shouting. "It's about the house, obviously." "Why are we being evicted?" "Because it's my house," I said flatly. There was silence, then a stunned, "What?" He had completely forgotten. That place was originally my studio. Back then, John couldn't afford a place on his own, so I let him move in. He never paid rent or utilities, just chipped in for basic expenses. And I had already canceled the lease, just days after the divorce. The real estate agent was handling the rest. George and Emma vanished, and now we're homeless? What are we supposed to do? "Try a business hotel," I suggested. "Nice ones have breakfast included." John shouted again, but his tone suddenly changed. "Whatever. When will you transfer the money?" "What money?" "The $11,000 you owe me." "I never agreed to that." There was a pause, then chaos. He screamed. He ranted. Apparently, he thought I'd bankroll his post-divorce life. I let him ramble, then cut in. "We're strangers now. John, don't call me again. My lawyer will be in touch." "Wait, what law?" I hung up. The calls kept coming for a while, then stopped. When my lawyer reached out, John ignored her too, immature as ever, but I never expected him to be this reckless. A few months later, I was discharged temporarily and decided to pay a visit to John's parents. He and Emily were already their small, shrunken versions of their arrogant selves, trembling. "You told my parents?" John snapped. "I told them we're divorced, that's all." His father's glare made John shrink back further. The truth? I'd always been close with my in-laws, meals, visits, gifts. It would have been wrong to keep them in the dark. "Is it true you're marrying Emily?" his father asked. "Yes," John muttered. "Emily, Emma, and I are starting fresh." "What are you talking about?" His mother shot back. "Your family is Sarah." She was. Not anymore. The disappointment on his father's face said it all. John, attempting to salvage some pride, slid a paper across the table. It was a luxury hotel bill. "What's this?" "It's from our stay," he said. Then, crack. His mother slapped him. "I didn't raise you like this." John reeled back, stunned. Emily stared wide-eyed, unsure who to support. "But what's the big deal? Families change, and you'll get a grandchild, your own blood. Shouldn't that make you happy?" John's mother looked at me, and I could tell we weren't done yet. They never wanted children. Yet they treated me like their own daughter. Of course, they were kind to Emily too, she'd been my childhood friend, but there was always a line between daughter-in-law and just a friend. I remembered Emily once grumbling about it, so I knew exactly how my mother-in-law would react to this situation. And Emily? She should have known too. You do own Emma, right? Emily asked smugly. She's going to be your grandchild, so this should make you happy, right? I mean, you've known her since she was small, though. Half her blood is John's, after all. Even after everything, Emily showed not the slightest hint of guilt. She truly didn't understand what was wrong. The indifference in her voice sent chills down my spine. Then, unexpectedly, a quiet voice from the corner cut through the tension. Enough already. This is disgusting. Everyone turned. It was Emma. She'd been scrolling through her phone, seemingly ignoring us all, but now she didn't even look up as she spoke directly to Emily. My dad is the only father I've ever had. Blood doesn't matter, he raised me. John never showed up to a single school event. I heard everything from Dad, how he'd only hear about the events after they were over, how they stopped telling him altogether. But Dad always said I was his daughter. So that's what I am. I'll never be yours. She finally looked up, eyes blazing, and stared Emily down. Then she walked over and sat beside me, her voice gentler now. You know, when I learned everything, I thought you'd hate me, but Dad said you didn't. That's why I came today. Emma. I love you so much. You visited me every day in the hospital. That meant the world to me. Emma's eyes welled up, and she wrapped her arms around me tightly. Maybe she was John and Emily's biological child, but I had raised her for 15 years. My heart could never deny her. By the way, Emily, I said, looking at her, didn't you wonder why I wasn't surprised when I found out Emma is John's daughter? Emily froze. Before she could speak, the door opened and George walked in. We've known for 10 years. Emily flinched. You're divorcing me, remember? He continued casually. Strange, because I still have the papers. They were never filed. You didn't notice? I almost laughed. It wasn't like Emily or John to pay attention to details. I shouldn't have been surprised she missed the mandatory waiting period before remarriage. So technically, George added, you're still my wife, and Emma is still my daughter. But not for long. The wife part, I mean. Wait, a 15-year-old can't decide her own parent, Emily cried. That's where you're wrong, George replied coolly. Emma wants to be with Mom, right? Emily said, turning to her. Emma scowled and grabbed my hand. Emily fell silent, her glare returned, aimed at me now. Then John burst out laughing. Ah, so that's what this is. You two are playing house now. Huh? Too bad. You can't live off George's salary forever. I raised an eyebrow. Stop making assumptions. Come on, you can't even work with your condition. You'll just wither away in some hospital bed. This time, I laughed. You really don't know anything about me, do you? Huh? You're probably making as much as a barista. No, John, my income is $500,000 a year. He gawked. Emily looked like she'd been slapped. I smiled. I'm a best-selling children's book author. My stories got picked up for film, merchandise, and international distribution. Want to see? I pulled out my phone and showed them the monthly deposits. Emily blinked, speechless. Sarah, let's make up, she stammered. What? She snapped at John. Are you serious? I watched them quietly, then said calmly, if you want to get married, go ahead, but don't forget, I'll be suing for damages. Sarah, wait. I ignored them, took Emma's hand, and after saying a warm goodbye to my in-laws, left the house. Afterward, John's lies caught up with him. He had been skipping work, pretending to be out on client visits. My father-in-law fired him, and sent him off to labor on a friend's fishing boat. John hated the outdoors. He tried contacting me again and again, but every time, I informed my father-in-law. Eventually, the calls stopped. Emily lost the custody battle and finalized her divorce. She didn't chase John, he couldn't afford anything anymore. Disowned by her family, she ended up in a shabby apartment. She had no real job experience, no life skills, and could only land part-time work. Even then, she struggled to cover her bills and court-mandated child support. Emma, meanwhile, started high school and studied relentlessly. Her dream is to study abroad and translate my picture books for children across the world. I couldn't be prouder. My work is thriving. My health is improving. The doctors say I might be able to leave the hospital next year. Offers for anime adaptations and merchandise keep pouring in. George and Emma visit me every single day. And recently, George confessed, with the hope of marrying me. I haven't answered him yet, but my heart knows the answer. He said he wants us to live together when I'm discharged. As I think about what to say, I continue to write every day, crafting stories full of hope, love, and resilience. For us, for Emma, for a future that finally feels like my own.